We just watched the interview with Ian Hazzikostas and Holly Longdale, and there was chatter about more world revamps going on. We're really listening to feedback from the player base on how we take the Silvermoon revamp and everything. And it looks like now Blizzard is actually confirming Orgrimmar and Stormwind revamps are coming. New official capitals of the Horde and Alliance. Let's see what this is all about here from our good friend, the Teller of a Thousand Truths, Doran.
Finally, the actual revamp of our main capitals, Stormwind and Orgrimmar, is happening. And no, this is not me clickbaiting or extrapolating
Not clickbaiting, okay? This is real. Keep watching.
some random data mine asset from like 5 years ago. Just a few days back, we got a brand new interview from the visual development manager and the lead game director for Midnight, where they talked about their plans for tackling on this massive challenge. I'm talking about finally breaking Orgrimmar and Stormwind from the Cataclysm era, and really Stormwind even from the Vanilla era, and really turning them into faction capitals that they are. Essentially, the two biggest and most powerful cities on Azeroth. We could see Orgrimmar no longer as a fortress Garrosh built, and Stormwind expanded and not really stuck with mainly vanilla assets. So let's look at this brand new official interview and everything we know. With TBC Anniversary Classic finally here, this is the perfect guide for
I'm excited. I'm excited for more old world revamps. I am. For me, Azeroth, not the world soul that we've gotten to know, but the world of Azeroth, that's one of the most prime and important characters in the entirety of World of Warcraft. That's the thing we fell in love with in Vanilla WoW. You fell in love with the open world. You fell in love with, venturing through the frozen tundras of Dunmorrow and then going into Ungoro Crater and running away from a T-Rex and going back to Stormwind and the gates of Stormwind for the first time, or going to Darnassus and seeing the giant Ent guards walking around. Like, it was the world that captured us all. So revamping the world, to me, is the right decision by Blizzard. It's a good spot to put dev time into because it does matter. It does matter, and I think we're going to find out how much it matters when we go see the new Silvermoon and stuff. I'm very excited to see that stuff for sure. Just build your PC. Look, if you're at the Horizon, if you're looking at the Starforge site and you're near the checkout, that'll include tax. If you're just looking at the picture, I don't think that includes tax. You got to get to the point checkout where you're about to pay, then you'll know what the actual cost is. Use code Samiccus at checkout, hey.
Everyone that wants to be prepared for hardcore gameplay. Rested XP gives you the most secure path from level 1 to 70 for every single class and zone. All the attunements, dailies, reputations, everything is there, from the best grinding spots to the best routes and dungeons, so that you can reach level 70 safely. Use my link below and get 10% off your order immediately. Check out Rested XP.
Rested XP, there you go.
So, I know it seems lately that every 2 days I'm talking about random revamps, that it really appears like I'm just rambling, but I promise you it's not clickbait. There really is a ton of news from the past 2 weeks, from Northrend to Kalimdor to Undercity that you can see in the previous video, and now with this big interview that we got about Stormwind and Orgrimmar from just a few days back. The revamp of the two capitals has been something we've talked about for ages, as really both of the main capitals are pretty relevant. People still use them. They're not really ghost towns like a lot of the cities, and they haven't slightly updated.
Man, that's sad. He just showed Ironforge as a ghost town. If you played Vanilla WoW back in the vanilla days, Ironforge was the true capital of the Alliance. I mean, you go to that area between the auction house and the bank, and you just stood there and you would just look at people's mounts, you'd look at people's gear. This is obviously pre-transmog, so you knew who the true degenerates were, and by degens I mean the heroes. The heroes of your life were walking around in Judgment gear and everything. Yeah, that was a good time, man. Alliance players know Ironforge was the true capital of the Alliance.
Like a lot of the cities, and they haven't slightly updated in Cataclysm, with Orgrimmar getting a bit more of an update, but without a doubt these two cities are completely outdated. Even with the Cataclysm update, they're like 15 years stuck in the past, and based on all the new cities.
Yeah, I mean, by new city standards, yeah, like he's showing, God, what the hell was this damn city called? The fucking Tinker Goblin City. Undermine. Then you also had like Suramar, right? And the new Silvermoon looks a lot like Suramar. These new cities feel lived in. They feel alive. They feel like so much more is going on in them. Everything, there's like a little alleyways where you find shit for the first time all of a sudden. Yeah, definitely these cities feel more like cities than Stormwind and Orgrimmar do. So if they got this kind of treatment, oh man, I think it'd be glorious.
that Blizzard has built over the years. What is currently is the game, it doesn't really give justice to these iconic capitals. I know gameplay and such is of course a limitation, but Stormwind in the lore has over 1 million citizens, which means it is a really big city. Now, what I'm talking about is not just me, yelling at the clouds about yet another revamp. On January 27th, we got an interview in regards to Midnight and what is coming, and they talked to an associate game director and the lead director for Midnight, as well as the visual development manager, which really are kind of the two main people you want to talk about this. It's not like some guy that is doing grunt work at Blizzard or like some janitor at Blizzard talking about his opinion. I mean, these are really the two main people that would be discussing revamps. They talked about how it was kind of scary to do the entire revamp of Kualtalas that just came in Midnight. First, because it's not really a new zone, but it's revisiting the old one, which is kind of new because they were worried that they would mess things up and ruin iconic areas for people, as some areas...
I will say, though, the thing that was less risky about Silvermoon is that city was basically uninhabitable. I mean, it was like an old zone. You couldn't even fly in it. Nobody was going to Silvermoon. So them revamping Silvermoon is not quite as risky as, say, revamping Stormwind is. Because if you messed up Silvermoon a little bit, well, beyond this expansion, it's not going to matter. Nobody goes to Silvermoon. But if you mess up Stormwind, it's a problem. It's still a major hub city in almost every expansion. So, yeah, going forward, I think they're going to take... the Silvermoon is a good choice for a first, like, full-blown revamp by the Blizzard team, because it gives them the chance to kind of, experiment and really try to do this right. And then beyond that, if they give this Silvermoon treatment to Stormwind and Orgrimmar and Undercity and Gilneas maybe, oh my, Lordaeron above it, I wish, but that'll be I think it'll be a nice thing to see. I would love to see it.
Are like areas that everyone knows, but you can imagine for Stormwind and Orgrimmar the burden is even greater because everyone was in these two cities. Pretty much everyone that ever tried World of Warcraft has at least seen Orgrimmar or Stormwind, and most likely both. They talked about how Silvermoon was kind of all smoke and mirrors without any flying ability and them just hiding flaws everywhere, and how there is a new challenge they would like to tackle, and that is revamping Orgrimmar and Stormwind. Now, with their new experience and player feedback that they just got from this Midnight revamp. As they say in the interview, it's impossible to just keep throwing continents and hidden isles all over Azeroth every few years, because, I mean, honestly, I feel like we've discovered more islands in the last few years than they were discovered since the shattering like 10,000 years ago, like when the mega continent was broken. Then they talked about how essentially the idea is to do these slow and gradual revamps instead of the big monumental ones like they did in Cataclysm. And if you guys followed my channel, you know this is what I've talked about for years at this point. Now, when could this happen? Personally, I think it could happen after the saga, but some updates are possible even in the saga itself.
Yeah. And we know Northrend's coming in the Last Titan, but yeah, I definitely see more old world revamps happening maybe after the saga. And that's fine. Maybe that's what we're going to do. Maybe that's what the next chapter of WoW is kind of a return to the basics. Maybe we get that new continent on the other side of Azeroth at some point too. All right, Avaloran, as it's been known. So, I definitely see if this does happen, it's probably a post-Last Titan thing. The revamp that we're still getting for sure in this series is the Northrend revamp.
The reason for that is because we got another interview with Blizzard devs about 2 weeks back, where they talked about the challenges they've had in revamping Kualtalas and what they were working on in regards to the Northrend revamp and all the Last Titan stuff. Here, by the end of the video, they talked about how, based on the recent feedback, they have plans to revamp older zones as well in the future on Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms. In particular, in this video, they singled out the Stone Talon Mountains, but personally, I think this is more of like an example zone that he talked about, not because this zone is more interesting than the others. Like, they just talked about how some areas, like the Stone Talon Mountains, have a really iconic story, and they're just stuck in time. I mean, the gist of it is that really there are so many iconic areas on Azeroth that have been kind of just left to rot away. I mean, they filled their purpose like 15 years ago, and now they're just sitting here as like this thing of the past. And realistically, most areas across Azeroth are really just kind of ghost areas that people only do for questing. But now with all these questing revamps and changes that happened over the past few years, I mean, most of these areas are not even necessary, and people are no longer even familiar with the old world.
Right, so man, a lot of the Night Elf zones, I mean, man, this tough. Look at that. Look at the trees. The trees is the major thing. That's why I always mention Ongoro Crater, because it's literally covered in trees. The graphics are, they're tough. They're tough. They're great for the time, but yeah, the time has passed.
Old world, so some of these zones are literally just empty. They talked about how this is a really big problem, about how Azeroth doesn't really feel like this giant living, breathing world that they want to feel like, and they're kind of keen on actually changing that and working on that. So I'm guessing, based on this discussion, the goal for the future, especially after the saga, seems to be improving what they already have instead of adding new islands and continents. Personally, I do think this is a good decision, as WoW has been going on for like 22 years by this point, and there really is already such an insane amount of content that they had built over the years that they really could just improve that and build upon that instead of just expanding the base and adding new stuff. There's so many lore-rich areas across the planet, and most zones were even used multiple times in the pre- and the post-Cataclysm era, and now we could see this happening for yet another time. However, in regards to Orgrimmar and Stormwind, this wouldn't necessarily have to be like a whole expansion. It could be tied to maybe player housing or some sort of major or minor patch. Realistically though, both cities are in a dire need of a revamp. Orgrimmar has been completely changed when Garrosh turned it into a fortress, which was this like big reveal that
The one true Horde King. That's right. Never forget Garrosh and what he did for the Horde. Look at that city. All metal, jagged. It used to just be a bunch of wood and poop put together. This man made Orgrimmar more respectable.
If you guys played back in the day, you remember like one day you woke up and Orgrimmar is completely different. But Orgrimmar is still this fortress despite so many years passing. I think it will be interesting to see maybe some like demilitarization of the city or more influence of the other races that have joined since, that have lived there. Or maybe what is even more realistic is just the expansion of the city itself. I mean, Orgrimmar, as opposed to Stormwind, is actually a really young city. It was only built in Warcraft 3. I mean, we had the entire questline with Rexar when we have built the city, and it has been around the same size as like from Cataclysm. They really haven't updated that. By now, it should realistically be at least like twice the size. In regards to Stormwind, they have also been
Yeah, I mean, with Orgrimmar too, like, yes, it's all spiky, and I was joking about the spiky metalness of it all, but this also looks very Orcish and Orgrimmar-y, right? Like the new housing that exists for the Horde aesthetic could certainly be the direction they take Orgrimmar, where, like you said, maybe less militarized and more, I don't know, there's still spikes and shit everywhere, but it's just less jagged, more architectural, or more architecturalness to it. I don't know how to say it. But yeah, this definitely still feels Horde, still feels like it fits the Horde aesthetic. It's not going away from that, and especially the Orc aesthetic, but it feels new compared to what Orgrimmar currently is.
When we have built a city, and it has been around the same size as like from Cataclysm. They really haven't updated that. By now, it should realistically be at least like twice the size. In regards to Stormwind, there have also been quite a few changes, but the big problem with Stormwind is that a big part of the city is even stuck in Classic. At least Orgrimmar was Cataclysm updated, while Stormwind had so many buildings that would need to be entirely rebuilt. Some slight changes were made over the years, and there have been updates, but there is so much more that could be done, and realistically they already built like half of the assets. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying too. The same with here, as I mentioned for the Horde with the Alliance, the human assets are already done. I mean, all these roofs look so much more graphically updated, better HD fidelity, the chimneys, the little smokestacks, all this shit, the windows, everything looks better in the neighborhoods than it does in the city right now. So basically what you have to do is take these assets, apply them to the city.
Matter of like maybe modifying them or just implementing them. Depending on how they really plan to do it, it could be done in phases. I don't necessarily think we're going to see like the Silvermoon Qualitalas version of the revamp of these two capitals. This was really just a unique change because this entire area was stuck in time. It was relevant to Midnight, and Silvermoon was...
Let's be honest, I said it before, Silvermoon was not revamped, it was rebuilt from the ground up. Old Silvermoon was not a real city. It was like a cardboard cutout of a city. You couldn't really do anything, go behind any walls or anything like that. It was like very stick to the path because most of this shit isn't actually built out. Now it's like a full-blown city.
Just all over the place and half destroyed, so they essentially just did the entire zone from scratch. They rebuilt everything. In terms of Stormwind and Orgrimmar, I think it's going to be more along the lines of what I previously mentioned. The cities may be getting expanded upon with some changes to the main buildings and updating the main assets. Like they already updated the destroyed part of Stormwind not that long ago, and I'm guessing these type of changes could happen. However, realistically, since they mentioned the update of Kalimdor and Eastern Kingdoms, potentially post-World Soul Saga, it is also possible that they might already have a plan for this expansion that is coming that could be based on the old world, specifically around the actual capitals of the Horde Alliance. So maybe the update won't happen in a patch or a mini patch, which is likely going to happen for Undercity that we recently discovered from the new Delve achievement in Midnight that you
Look
can
at
check
that.
out in the previous video that I did. For the capitals though, I think different rules apply, and
I would love to see. It's like an old trope on my stream at this point. Rebuild Lordaeron. Rebuild it, please. Even if it's mainly still an undead city, you know, those are the Lordaeronians, really. But maybe you make it cross-faction. Maybe you give me Lordaeron back. Maybe I can actually walk the path that Arthas did with the rose petals falling all around me. Just maybe.
They did say in the interview that they learned a lot from this experience alone of rebuilding Silvermoon, so I'm guessing they already kind of figured out a workflow and they probably already have a plan. That is not just me speculating that it could happen. I mean, they essentially confirmed it in this interview and you heard it from two of the main WoW devs. Thanks for watching. Check out everything we learned about the Undercity revamp by clicking on the screen, and check out my brand new Witcher lore channel that I've just opened by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
Yeah, nice video overall, and I definitely think this is coming. I do, because I do think that the player base is going to react really well to the Upper Eastern Kingdoms revamps that occurred with the Amani Trolls section, with Silvermoon and everything else. I think it's going to be awesome. And I think once they see how the player base reacts, they're going to realize, yeah, putting time into the old world and revamping it is worth their time. Nice video overall from Doran.